Hi AP. Okay, in today's video we are going to work another example of free response question number 7 on part 2 of the AP theory exam. This is an example in A flat major. You're basically going to be on your own here. The suggested time for completion of harmonizing a melody on the AP exam is 20 minutes. So I'm going to give you 20 minutes, but after the first 5 minutes, we're going to pause briefly to check your cadences. Remember that you want to work your cadences first, and I suggest working backwards, starting with the last measure. So we'll check back in 5 minutes, make sure our cadences are in place, and then we'll complete the rest after that in 15 minutes. Good luck, AP. Okay, AP, we're going to pause briefly to check our cadence points before continuing. First, what I want to do is write the scale degrees in for my cadence points. Then I can identify the type of cadence. We need the last measure to be a PAC. I chose to put the 4 chord in root position before 5-1. This is going to be an authentic cadence, imperfect. The 1 before that, I chose a 5-7, like so. In measure 4, we have the secondary dominant. This is the temporary key of E flat major, because we have a D natural, which is the leading tone going up to E flat. So the Roman numeral analysis would be 5 of 5, going to a 5 chord at the fermata. Remember that when we write our cadence points, that we want to keep everything in root position. We should not differ at all in measure 4 with the half cadence using the secondary dominant. We should not differ at all in measure 6 using the 5-7 to the 1. I'm not going to call that D on beat 2 in measure 6 a passing tone, because it wouldn't be a strong cadence. Remember, cadences have to be like 5-7 to 1 or 5 to 1. So it has to be a 5-7 to 1 because the soprano has the 7th, which is the D flat. And it goes from fa to mi on the fermata. So that's an imperfect authentic cadence there. In the last measure, we may differ on the first chord. I chose the 4 chord. You could possibly put the 2-6 chord if you'd like. 2-6-5-1 works, but 4-5-1 is a much stronger finale cadence. We cannot differ on the last 2 chords. We need a PAC, and that should be 5-1, again in root position. I'm going to give you 15 more minutes to complete the rest of this harmonization. Good luck, AP, then we'll check our solutions. You have about 5 minutes left, AP. Okay, AP, 20 minutes has passed, so that's the suggested time for completion for question 7 on the AP exam. So we're going to check my solutions and I'll provide a commentary. And remember, this is where things may be different a lot. It depends on your creativity. Okay, let's check our work. Remember, there are many different ways to harmonize this melody, okay? But the next step you want to do after your cadences, hopefully you decided on the harmonic rhythm at the spots where you see 1 or tonic. So right here at the start here, looks like we have tonic. I'm going to quickly write in my soprano scale degree numbers. Do, re, ti, do, re, mi, and then we have fi, sol, sol. In measure 5, we have la, ti, do, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, fa, mi, re, do, ti, la, ti, do. And you'll see later on when I do this phrase that the notes I'm circling right now I chose as non-harmonic tones. Okay, so I'm going to begin where it says start here because I see that that's a 1, that's tonic. So I'm going to look at the soprano. The note before it is C down to A flat, and the bass is A flat. Maybe I'll make a contrary motion and I can put a C in the bass. Therefore, I've just gone from 1 to a 1 chord in inversion. That stem should be down. These stems should be down since it's the bass part. Anyway, let's continue. So I have a 1, 6 right there. So I can go from 1 to 1, 6. Here I chose to make a 5 chord, and actually I only harmonized 3 chords, 3 beats in this measure. So I have the E flat as a half note, which is harmonized over 2 and to 7, since you can see that that's part of the triad. Those notes are part of the triad, E flat, G, B flat. And then I went back to the 1, 6 here with a C in the bass. Now I did something interesting. I did a passing 6-4, a 5-6-4 here. And then I went to the 6 of 6. I'll show you what that looks like for the bass. Remember, passing is a walking bass line when you have a passing 6-4. And that's what I did right there. If I wanted to, I could call this chord 1 because the soprano note C is in the 1 chord. But I made it more interesting. I have lots of major sounding chords in a row here, so to throw that minor 6-6 in gives it a nice flair. So that's what I did for there. Now, at the end of the line in measure 4, we have the soprano after the fermata singing sol, the E flat, and we have the 5 chord. So the 5 chord loves to go to the 1 chord, so that's what I did there for that last beat. In the next line, I'm realizing that I have lots of major sounding chords, so maybe I want to do my minor 2 that I love so much. So here, I chose to do a 2-6. I like the 2s in first inversion. That would create the D flat in the bass, like so. 2, we know, loves to go to 5. I kept that in root position. And then 5 loves to go to 1, like so. So this is what I started with, okay? Let me complete it for you now. So let's go back to measure 5 right here. And we're going to start with what we ended with. Keep it simple. Remember, we also want to try, if possible, to use at least 2 chords or 2 positions of the same chord per measure. So here I have 2-6. I'm sorry, that should not be diminished. That should just be a 2-6. It would be 2 diminished if we were in minor key. Okay, so then my bass note would be a D flat again, like so. So I have contrary motion happening a lot in measure 5, which is always nice. Measure 6, we start out on sol, or the 5th scale degree in the soprano. And again, 2 loves to go to 5, so why not put a 5 here that can travel to our cadence point, 5-7 to 1. Now, after this imperfect authentic cadence in measure 6 on the last beat, soprano is singing re, so I figured out what chords have re in it in the key of A flat. major. And I figured that the 5 chord would be a good one to include right there, but in inversion. I chose a 5-6. That way you have a walking bass from the 1 to the 5-6. It's going to be like Do Ti. So that's always nice. I did that because we have Do, Ti, and then we can go back to Do here in the bass, making this a 1 chord. Now I got a little fancy with the next chord. You don't have to do this, but I did. I noticed that if I make this a 5-7 chord, that the soprano is singing the 7th, which is D flat. But then I thought to myself, what if I inverted that? So that way, instead of having the bass go from A flat to E flat and have that jump, what if the bass went stepwise motion? So I decided to do A flat to G, which would make my 7th chord in first inversion. So I wrote a 5-6-5 here. I'm gonna make that a little bit neater. So there's the G, and here's the 5-6-5 that I did. Again, 5-6-5, back to tonic chord in root position. I chose to do those 2 tones right here as non-chord tones, so I'm concerned with the A flat only, and I made it a 1-6. Kind of the same thing I did right up here where it says start here. It's the same type of motion. The soprano is going from C to A flat, so the bass can go in contrary motion, A flat to C. And that's how I chose to harmonize this. Now if you wanted to, in the last cadence, where the perfect authentic cadence exists, you can leave that as a 5-1, or you could even put a 5-7-1. It doesn't matter, and we don't have to notate the 7th. We just have to notate the bass and provide the Roman numeral. So that's my solution. I'm very curious and interested to see how you did with your possible solutions. Hopefully you kept it simple. Then of course, when I finished this, I went back and checked through all of my intervals for every note between the bass and the soprano to make sure that they are consonant and that I have no illegal parallel fifths or parallel octaves. One of the last things you want to do is go back and erase anything that is not required of the answer. And I'm going to erase other things in the process. I know it, but do the best we can. Okay, I don't need to label the cadences. I don't need to label these scale degrees. That was just for my benefit. I don't have to circle non-chord tones and things like that. That looks a little better. Okay, so now we're going to check out your solutions. I'm excited about this. Thanks for watching, AP.